Crisis hits, sometimes it brings out the best in good people.
You know, we've all heard of the price gouging and people hoarding some of the essentials. Well, this is not that. Actually, it is the opposite of that. WMAR 2 News' John Harrison found a local business that made us all feel good.
Behind me is Pasadena Boat Works. They can take care of anything that you put on the water. They can also take care of people. They just donated 14,000 hospital masks to the state of Maryland.
I guess now at this point,
Nick Doach and his partner, Rick Levin, are the owners of Pasadena Boat Works. About 10 years ago, Rick was doing some volunteer work at the Cancer Center at Johns Hopkins. He was talking to a young girl named Mackenzie Stuck. He asked her what the worst part of having cancer was, and she said wearing the mask. So Rick designed a mask that would be fun for kids.
And they're covers that are peel and stick covers. They go over the N95 respirator. They enhance it and they dress it up and they make fighting germs fun.
So they originally ordered about 20,000 of them and were selling and mostly giving them away to children in hospitals and the like. Life happened for Rick and new projects came along, and now he had 14,000 masks in storage.
it happened really quickly. They came
In
out.
comes his partner, Rick.
Yes.
With all that is going on with the pandemic, Nick suggested they donate them to the state. The Department of Health was glad to hear from them.
So they were very happy that we had, not many people are going to have that many masks, obviously, in storage.
They were so happy, in fact, they showed up the next morning. Not only was it a great thing that they had thousands of these masks available, they're rated as N95 masks, and that's critical for these times.
For people to be able to go into their doctors, a lot of times they're going to have an N95 level mask even to be seen. Unfortunately,
Mackenzie passed away, but her spirit is still very much alive.
I think she would be ecstatic today if she knew that her namesake is on a product that's helping people right now, because I really believe that's what Mackenzie was about.
Rick tells me he's heard from Mackenzie's family, and they say that they're happy and proud that her name is on a project like this. In Pasadena, Don Harrison, WMAR 2 News.
You see him? There's my reef.
Years in the making, we were invited to the first oyster planting on Rick Levin's boat.
It's like sending all my kids off to school.
You may know him as the owner of Pasadena Boat Works, but he has other handyman hobbies.
I've actually been 2 years building it with shells.
Recycled shells from 2 local restaurants, Arundel Seafood and Brian Baru, ended up in the Severn. Take a look down below.
There's 6,000 oysters here that are going to go on the reef today.
Let's back up to the dock to show you how Levin got to this point. He started growing oysters from his house 4 years ago, a project through his business with his partner.
Once the oyster seeds get to a size like my fingernail, then I put them in these tanks, and these tanks will pump water, and it'll keep circulating so that the oysters have a lot of nutrients.
Levin buys larvae from Horn Point Lab in Cambridge. He uses reef balls for them to latch onto and places them in setting tanks that he built.
I just wanted to do something on my own. I didn't want to do anything that was formal or was an existing program. I wanted to create something that was creative on my own.
The inspiration came from seeing for himself the filtering power of oysters at a fundraiser.
There's a little animal in here, and he takes all the bad nutrients and nitrogen, everything harmful in the bay, he pulls out and it helps him build his shell.
And when people began stopping by his property, he stepped up his building skills this summer.
I took a boat lift and I built an oyster reef on a platform. It's a fiberglass grate actually, and I built a water wheel so it aerates the water, and this is an oyster reef that you can see because you have the ability to bring it up and down just like a boat. When I tried to explain to the kids about oyster reefs and how they work, it was hard for them to follow because kids are visual and I'm visual. You need to see things, understand it.
His ideas keep flowing. Rick will now use the winter months to build what he calls Oyster City. You'll find it here in the springtime on Rock Cove on the Severn.
I'm building 2 20-foot long floating docks. They're going to be this exciting visual display with a gas dock, and it's going to have Oyster City with the buildings and big capture oysters, and my plan is to draw a lot of attention to what I'm doing here so I get more and more people interested, and I love to get corporate sponsors.
Not bad for the man with many interests and no formal engineering or environmental training. In fact, Levin owned hip-hop fashion retailer DTLR for more than 30 years.
My mind just never stops.
After all, the Chesapeake Bay Foundation says oyster populations in Maryland remain at low levels.
I love the bay. I've lived here for 40 years. I love boating. This is a treasure, and I want to do everything I can to try to preserve it and try to help clean it up.
For Chesapeake Bay Media's Bay Bulletin, I'm Cheryl Costello.
I'm Nick Doach, co-owner of Pasadena Boat Works. My business partner Rick Levin and I started the business about 6 years ago. We always wanted to give back to our community with every step that we made forward with our business. When the pandemic began, we knew we wanted to give back right away. Your community is key. Giving back to kids with cancer was one of our biggest areas of giving back, and we wanted to make certain that we gave them something that made them feel better about their lives and helped them throughout their unfortunate times. When Rick Levin came up with the idea for Kenzie covers, Mackenzie Stuck was a girl suffering from cancer. She had to have these N95 masks for chemotherapy. One of the questions that my business partner asked her was, what are the things that a lot of people don't know that really affect you on a day-to-day basis? And the first thing that she responded with was that when she wears the mask, she feels like she is sick to the world. When Rick heard that, he understood very quickly that this is something he wanted to see if he could change. So he came up with Kenzie covers, and the basic idea behind it is take the mask and make it more fun. Have different designs on the front of the mask that they can interchange, and over time come up with new designs. Give them to hospitals, have them available to the public at large as well. Once we realized the pandemic was only going to continue to rise, we decided that we wanted to make sure that all these masks were donated to help both kids and medical personnel throughout this pandemic. I'm Nick Doach, owner of Pasadena Boat Works and Kenzie Covers, and I'm proud to be this week's hometown hero.